to it. So today, we're focusing on Win the Listing. This is the centerpiece of a 3-week series to enable you to walk out of every listing conversation with the listing. Because when we're working with buyers, it's a little bit unusual that we're in competition. Usually they're going to work with one agent. But when a seller, particularly a savvy seller who's been doing this for a while, decides to list their home, it's not uncommon for them to interview several agents, or at least talk to several agents on the phone. And that's why we say that sellers are the biggest test of your effectiveness as a real estate agent. By the way, a buyer is the biggest test of your what? Patience. That was like unanimous. Wow. So we typically say the biggest test of your efficiency, or the biggest threat to the efficiency of your business, but I like patience, okay? So when you are going to meet with a seller, you have to bring your A game. You have to be ready, because that's when you are typically in competition for the business. And there's a lot of sayings in this industry that describe the importance of getting the listing. One of them is, he or she who lists lasts in the business, has legs in the business, because buyers can be fickle. They can come and go depending on the vagaries of the market, but sellers are always here. People are always getting transferred. And because there's competition for that, if you can get it when there are buyers, people making sign calls, people responding to online ads, you're in a position then to get both the seller and the buyer. Buyers don't always produce sellers, but sellers almost always produce buyers. Either they are a buyer, or you can pick up buyers through the marketing of that listing. So it's critically important that productive real estate agents hone their conversion skills. Now, let me make one other comment, and then I'll get into the content piece. There's a reason that I'm covering these conversion classes before we talk about seller lead generation. Using the cold list to call sellers, make circle calls, make neighborhood calls, geo calls, using the expired list, the FSBO list. What type of client are we trying to reach with those sources? Say sellers. Sellers, right? A for sale by owner, an expired seller, a circle call, a geo call is somebody who owns a home. We're trying to reach sellers. There's a reason that I'm talking about conversion before I talk about lead generation. Because I've observed over time that I can teach lead generation classes, how to go get a seller, how to get an appointment with a seller, until I'm blue in the face, and nobody will do anything with it because you're scared to death that somebody will say yes. Okay, yes, come to my house Thursday night at 7, right? Goes, ah! What am I going to say? You know, I don't have a marketing plan. I don't know what their home is worth, okay? I'm not prepared to overcome objections. And so I've always taught it the other way. I teach conversion first, so that you know exactly what you do when you get the at-bat, when you get the opportunity, the invitation to the kitchen table, you know what you're going to do. You're excited about what you're going to do. And if that's the case, then you're going to be more willing to call the FSBO, to call the expired, to call the geo home seller. Does that make sense? So don't worry if you're like, well, I don't know how to get the appointment. Let's focus on what you do when you get there. And then I'll focus on lead generation is what we're going to focus on hard in the first quarter of 2019. But I want your conversion skills for sellers and buyers to be ready to go when we get there. Okay. That worked that time. So let's here's the overview of where we're going in the next 60 minutes. Here's the 10-point plan for getting the listing, even if you're in competition for it. You want to be the first and last agent they meet with. And I'll talk about why that's important. You want to dress right and drive right for the appointment. You want to show up on time. We'll talk about if early is better. You're going to ask for a tour of the home, ask to be seated at the kitchen table, lead a question-based conversation that addresses seller needs, pricing, marketing, and next steps. 7, you're going to review and sign documents, including the seller safety plan, complete the disclosures, and collect the survey. This is a chronological order of what's going to happen. Take room measurements, install sign and lock boxes, and then take photos of the family with the yard sign. Okay, that's your 10-step process at the appointment, at the seller conversation. So let's go ahead and dive in to the content. And of course, if you know me, we're going to talk about your beliefs first. Because I find that agents, even when they hear the right thing to do, they find it difficult to implement because they're holding on to unproductive beliefs. Maybe things they've been told at other real estate companies, something they picked up on the internet, something they were told as a child. So let me walk through this real quick, and then I'm going to go a little bit deeper on each one. Sellers want a conversation, not a presentation. If you ever hear me say the words listing presentation, you can slap my hand. I give you permission. But that's what every other real estate company teaches. Come in and do the dog and pony show. Show us all of your marketing. Do a slideshow, okay? Show us videos. That is a presentation. And there is a place for all of those things. But it's in the context of a conversation. Sellers want to be listened to. They got stuff going on inside. And they need to make a connection with you. Not like this, you're going to the movie theater and seeing a show, okay? They want conversation, not presentation. They want expertise, not experience. Some people can have the same year of experience 30 times. They never learn anything. They've been in the business since 1960. They're still taking listing photos with their iPhone, okay? Or their Polaroid, okay? I mean, that happens. What sellers are looking for is the person who can sell their home in a way that's going to satisfy their needs. And if you can demonstrate that you have the expertise to do that, it doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. A seller will list with somebody whose ink is still wet on their license. If they come in and have a conversation and that seller is convinced, Jesse, he's the guy. He's the guy, okay? So don't be intimidated by the fact that you're either young or relatively inexperienced. It honestly doesn't matter if you go in with a proven strategy. And then finally, sellers decide emotionally and then justify their decision logically. I'll go deeper on that, but just very simply, what that means is you can't come in and just try to overwhelm them with facts and figures and numbers, which are all logical, about why you're the best person to do the job. Because you know what? If they don't like you, it doesn't matter, okay? They're going to list with somebody that they like, that they connect with emotionally, and then they're going to use facts and figures and logic to justify that emotional decision that they make. So do you have to have facts and figures and numbers? You do. But that's a secondary role. Emotion is first. So let's just go a little bit deeper on each one of these. Sellers want somebody who will listen to them and understand their concerns, which are usually far more than money. Agents have a tendency to think that the number one driving motivation of this seller is to get the most amount of money out of the sale. And undoubtedly, there's a significant percentage of sellers that is their primary motivation, but there's a whole bunch that have other concerns. Sometimes they're ego concerns. You know, so-and-so down the street sold their home in 7 days. I got to sell mine in 6. Okay? Sometimes it's an irrational concern. Sometimes it's the way you're going to market their property. They want you holding an open house. That's the most important thing to them. It's a marketing concern. Or they don't want you holding an open house. Sometimes it's a timing need. The money's not so important, but gosh, we got to be in Pittsburgh in 30 days. How do you think companies like Open Door are capturing so much of the market, paying 80 cents on the dollar? It's timing. It's a timing need because they can do a quick close with a proven or certified buyer who has funds to close. They're willing to take a 20% discount. It's not always money. They don't want to be sold. Nobody does. The biggest objection I hear from real estate agents when I'm talking to them about getting into real estate as a career is they say, well, I'm not really a salesperson, right? Who is? I'm not a salesperson. Most of you are not. You'd have to go to a used car lot probably to find one, okay? It's a very small minority of the population of people who go around trying to convince people to do something that is not in their best interest and they don't really want to do. And that's not our job. Somebody help me with this. Real estate sales is a what business? It's a service business. Real estate sales is a service business. So that's why we go in with a conversation, not a presentation. We're there to find out what their needs are and to see if we are the best person to meet those needs. So don't feel like you got to go in and you just got to overwhelm them with your brilliance and your marketing. They don't want to be sold. Okay, they want somebody who's going to listen to them. It's important to have materials on hand or online which demonstrate your expertise, but they're in the supporting role, not the lead role. Let me tell you why this is all good news. Very few of us are good at being showmen, at orchestrating the dog and pony show. Oh, now let me show you this. And if that didn't wow you enough, take a look at this. We're not very good at that, okay? And we don't have to be. We can all talk. And more importantly, we can all listen. And that's what sellers are looking for. Experience, expertise, not experience. Experience is only valid as it supports expertise. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been doing this for 18 years. And every year I have committed to learning, to growing, to discovering and using the latest technology tools, to staying up on the best marketing tools. So experience only counts as it validates expertise. But you can get that expertise very quickly in this business if you align yourself with people, with vendors, with brokers, and other agents who are willing to help you along. Youth, and by that I mean being young in years, can be equated with being tech savvy. And where are buyers and sellers going first in their real estate search now? They're going online. They're involving technology. So if you can come in and say, hey, I didn't have to learn this stuff. I was born with it, right? Because young people, it's genetic now. It's in their DNA. I don't know what it is. I have a granddaughter who's going to turn 1 year old this Saturday. She's not even a year old. Guess what her favorite toy is? The iPhone. The iPhone. You have a phone out in her presence, she's after it, okay? And she starts poking on it like she knows what she's doing. I mean, it's just like, it's weird how that happens. But you can leverage that if you are young to demonstrate the fact that you're a natural at this, okay? You know what's going on. Being newly licensed can be equated with embracing the latest tools and strategies. A surgeon who just graduated from surgery school, right? Versus one been doing it for 50 years, but maybe hasn't gone back. Maybe still using 50-year-old methods. So again, if you're new or inexperienced, leverage that. I just came through 168 hours of cutting-edge strategies on marketing and pricing. It's fresh. I'm ready. Whatever your story is, tell it with enthusiasm. If you've been doing it for 40 or 50 years, can you tell that with enthusiasm? Absolutely. Whatever your story is. Think about how that serves your buyers and sellers. And then launching a new career can be equated with high levels of commitment and motivation. Well, son, how many years you been doing this? Well, let me tell you, sir, I just started. That means there's no competition for my time. When I take your listing, you're getting all of me, okay? 100%. Every career hour I have, I'm going to be focused on finding you a buyer. That's a compelling message, okay? If you believe it, and you can say it with sincerity and enthusiasm, everybody has a first time. Everybody has a first listing. And you'll get yours quicker if you just own whatever your story is and be excited about it and present it in a way that serves your seller. Emotion, then logic. It should be on the screen. It's switching here. Hold on. Hold on. No. That was me. That was me. Okay, it's critically important that sellers like you as a person and believe that you really care about them. Okay? The softer side of real estate. You have to be a likable person. In all my years in real estate, and I've worked with thousands of real estate agents, I can think of probably only 3 or 4 that were, really unpleasant people. Okay? You would do a transaction with them once and never again. Okay? Most of us are nice, and if we'll just let our niceness come through, our likability come through, and not try to be something else, some image of what we think a superstar salesperson is, and we just let whoever we are come through, most people are going to find that attractive. They need to feel that they will enjoy working with you. By the way, that's really true for buyers, because you're going to be spending a lot of time in the car together and driving around together, but it's true for sellers too. They don't want to feel like if they have to call you for showing feedback or negotiate a deal with you, that's going to be an unpleasant experience. They want to feel that they're contributing to your success just as you are contributing to theirs. So it's perfectly fine to tell them, my aspiration this year is to help 24 families improve their real estate situation. Okay, either find their first home or sell their home and get situated in their dream home. It's okay to share your goals, because you want them at some level to take some emotional ownership of your success. Because it's entirely possible that before this transaction is through, things could get a little wobbly. Does that ever happen? Okay, so you want them to want you to succeed and to be part of that success at the closing table. It's why tools such as the letter from the heart are so important. Establish that emotional connection up front. And as you saw last week, we include the letter from the heart in the pre-listing package. So hopefully they've read that and they already like you. They want to like you. And when you show up, you just validate that you really are that person that you described in the letter. You must address both emotional and logical issues. In other words, you're caring, emotional, and competent, logical. Okay? It's not enough to be nice if they don't feel like you're actually the person to get them the price and the timing and the marketing needs that are important to them. Caring and competent, emotional and logical. You just have to keep them in the right order. Okay? Lead with personality, lead with emotion, lead with who you are, lead with the fact that you care about them, that you're going to listen to them, and then you can back that up with supporting tools. Okay, so let's talk about those tools. These are things that you need to have before you go on that appointment. A yard sign. By the way, you can get one in 24 hours from Sensational Signs. So you don't have to go out and buy 10 in advance, because I know sometimes they're pricey when they're brand new. A personal brochure. We've taught an entire class on that. That's in your pre-listing package. A quick CMA. And I know some of you, I saw Michelle. Is that you over there, Michelle, on the floor? Michelle, you love what for your CMA? Cloud CMA. Other people are going to talk about RPR, an 85-page gargantuan CMA. All of that is fine. And the most important thing with whatever CMA that you use is that you like it, that you are confident in what you're sharing. For me, I'm good with a 2-page quick CMA. Okay, so, but have that CMA. Again, you will have sent that in your pre-listing package, but you're going to bring a copy with you just in case the dog ate it, because you absolutely have to review that in the conversation. Samples of your marketing materials, right? This is the logical backup. When you tell them that you use the latest, greatest marketing strategies, you need to be able to show them. And you can even go to your competition, pull one of their flyers out of the box and show them how it's all weathered and rain soaked and the ink is running and it was just on 80-pound paper, and then put it side by side with yours. Stiff, cardstock, full color, full bleed, double-sided, laminated, put them down side by side. Okay, that kind of stuff. Bring samples of your materials. Tape measure, or for all you tech-savvy people, those laser something to measure rooms with, seller safety plan, and then documents, deadlines, and next steps. That is a document itself. If you don't have that yet, you will before you leave. Okay? Now, power tip. I recommend that you have a kit in your car. It has saved me so many times. I can't tell you. But these are the things that you need to have. Windex and microfiber cloths. What for? For your sign. Because they always get messed up. Birds love yard signs. Okay? If you're an inexperienced agent, you just need to know that. Okay? Birds love them. White paint, or whatever color your post is, because they get chipped, scratched, beat up. And in my listing conversation, I talk a lot about my signs and how much better they are than the other signs they're going to see on their street, because I believe the sign is a reflection of the quality of the home. So my sign better look good. So every time I put up a sign, I'm out there, I'm polishing it off. I've got my white paint. If there's some scratches or dings or nick, I'm spraying it right there in the yard. Okay? It's a beautiful thing. Michelle, I was hoping you would not bring that up. Michelle worked with me one time on a listing. You just leave now. And we were out there. I parked my truck right next to the curb. We put the sign in the yard. We Windexed it. We cleaned it. We noticed scratches. We got the white paint, and I'm spraying. Guess what? Little wind blowing. I painted the truck too, okay? But we don't have to bring that up, okay? A post leveler. And I should have brought mine in. It's actually in the bed of my truck right now, but okay? But it's a level. When you put that yard sign in, it needs to be straight both directions. And there's a little leveler that kind of wraps around the post. It looks like this. And it has a little bubble level, and it will tell you, make sure that it's straight up and down. That's a pet peeve of mine. I drive past a yard sign, and it's all leaned over, okay? So get it straight, get it driven in the ground, get it straight to begin with, and then check it periodically, because stuff happens. Yes, Trina? Yeah, so just sensational signs if you're only getting them in small quantities. Yeah, they sell them right here. If you're going to order 10 or more, then look at a national vendor, Oakley Signs or something like that, because you can get much cheaper prices. But then I would take those down to Sensational and say, hey, I'd rather do business locally. Would you match these prices? And they probably will, okay? A sledgehammer, and ladies, it doesn't have to be the big 5-pounder. They make them smaller. I carry one in my truck, measuring tape or laser. Graphite, who knows what that is? Yeah, it's like the old pencil lead ground up. I cannot tell you the number of times, even representing buyers, when I've tried to get in a home and the lock is stuck, okay, particularly on homes that have been vacant for a long time, you just spray a little graphite in there and that thing will open like butter, okay? You broke a key in the lock, yeah. No. Thank you for asking. It is not WD-40. You never want to squirt oil into a lock. Okay, that attracts debris and dirt and gums it up. Graphite is a dry powder lubricant. You just squirt it in there, it kind of does a puff, and then it just, everything works really well. Okay, so, but your seller may have sticky locks. So just get a little tube. You can buy it anywhere, little tube graphite. Carry it in your car with you. A Supra and combo lock boxes. I'll talk to you a little bit later about why you need both. But I carry both in my truck all the time, or at least I did when I was taking listings, okay? And then duct tape, right? Because you never know. You never know. And then a toolbox with simple tools. And I meant to add in here, you should all have a package of zip ties, okay? Zip ties for getting your flyer boxes on the post. So carry the big, long, heavy-duty zip ties with you and your sign panel hanging hardware. Some of us use those little clips, but sometimes, I mean, in a hurricane or a heavy wind or a storm, they'll get all bent, they'll flop down. You'll find a sign panel, you know, rocking like this, just hanging from one. So I always take an extra supply of sign panel hardware, the little clips, okay? Just have all that with you, and it'll just save you countless trips and aggravation of having to go back and do this and run around. Just have it with you, take care of it at one time, okay? Yes, sir.
So the signs that you use, can you put them in with the sledgehammer? Is that what that is?
So every post, it's for the post, and every post has a little different technology for installing. The ones that I use have a big iron rod that you drive into the ground, and then you just take the white aluminum post and drop it down. So that's what my sledgehammer is for. Some of you have different technology, but yes, like a miniature, like the green iron fence post. It's kind of like that, but it's wide enough to fill the gap in the post, holds it in place. Okay, so let's get into step one here. Be the first and last agent they meet with. And again, I'm going to rock some of yours world who've been trained before, that in a multiple appointment situation where the sellers are talking to several agents, typically trainers will say, go last, right? Let them hear from everybody else, and then you go in and you scoop up the deal. If that is your practice, I hope you're at another company, because you're never going to get the appointment, right? If an Abbey agent goes in first. That's the point. You always want to go first, because if you go first, you can knock out the others. They never even get the at-bat because the sellers are comfortable with you. And by the way, this is one of the funnest things you get to do as a real estate agent. Go in and ask them, are you interviewing other agents? Well, yes, I got one on Wednesday, one on Thursday. Well, great. May I come on Tuesday? I'd love to be first. Love to have a conversation with you first. So you go in, guess what they're going to do? They're going to fall in love with you. They're going to emotionally bond with you. They're going to justify that logically by all the marketing materials and the pricing strategy you've given to them. Do they want to have those appointments on Wednesday and Thursday? But they're obligated, right? Because they're people of integrity and they scheduled those appointments. Okay? You solve the problem for them. And this is the fun part. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I really feel like we have the beginnings of a great relationship here, and I'd love to list your home. Are you comfortable with letting me take on the responsibility of your selling your home? Yeah, we would love for you to do that. Then let me do this. Let's save the other agents the trouble of coming to your home on Wednesday and Thursday. You guys can have better use of your time. You can go to the movies. And you know what? I know both of those agents, they both have young kids. They would probably prefer to stay home as well. So if it's okay, I'll call them. I'm very serious about this. I will call them and let them know that you've listed your home with me and they've got the evening off. Is that okay? And every time they go, oh, would you really do that? I'm like, absolutely. It's a professional courtesy. Okay. Happy to do it. Now, the last time I did this, one of the agents was a little miffed. Okay. He wanted proof. So you know what I had to send him? You'll see this later in the strategy. I was able to email him a photo of the sellers in the front yard next to my sign. Okay? Okay? It's fun. So go first. Go first, and you can be last. Okay? Now, dress right, drive right. And this is important. I've seen this as an actual issue which has kept people from getting listings. So let's talk about dress right first of all. You want to be business or business casual, okay? You want to show up as a professional. And when I'm home, my wife says I look like I just crawled out from under a bridge, okay? My natural state is pretty gnarly, okay? But when you're going on a listing appointment, you got to dress for the affair. Dress for the occasion. Dress like you want the job. So business for a man that, would be like a suit and tie, or business casual like Michael here, okay? Just rocking the sport coat, okay? Looking good. That's perfectly fine. For ladies, the equivalent of that. And ladies, professional, not this, okay? And I stress this because this is what shows up in a lot of real estate ads, okay? Know what you're selling, okay? And we're selling professional home marketing services, okay? So professional, not sexy. And I would say wear a name tag, because when they see somebody at their door, if you've got your name tag on, they know who you are. They know why you're there, and they'll feel better about opening the door to you. Okay. On the vehicle, a clean, late model car or truck. Clean, late model. And I realize when we're starting, some of us, we're driving the 78 Pinto, but borrow a car if you have to. Before I was in real estate and I was interviewing buyer's agents, I was living in an apartment. I didn't even have a home to sell. I was wanting to buy a house. And we did interview various agents. You know what I did? I'm a little embarrassed to admit this. When they pulled up in front of my house, I pulled the blinds apart. I wanted to see what they were driving. Okay? And I made a decision based upon that. I actually liked the agent better. He had better technology who drove the old beat-up car. But I'm just like, if he was really good, he wouldn't be driving that car. Okay? So a clean late model car. Take it through the car wash before you go. You're representing. And most of them are going to look. Okay? It makes a difference. Now, you do not need to drive a Lamborghini or a Porsche or a Lexus. God bless you if you can buy a Lexus. But you want to be very careful about overshooting economically the people that you're trying to serve. You show up in a $100,000 car, that's great if your clients are NBA players or rock stars. But normal people are going to be offended by that. Not everybody, enough people. And I had a very close friend of mine tell me a seller took the listing contract out of his hands and ripped it in half. When they walked outside after the listing conversation, after the listing was taken, and he saw what he was driving. Overpaid, that was the point. The seller was in distress. The seller couldn't make his mortgage. And he walks out there and he sees what the realtor is driving, he would not do business with him, okay? So you need to be compatible with the current or next level aspiration of your sellers. It's okay to have a Lexus, okay? If you're selling, in the $200, $300 price range, at $300,000 price range, that's perfectly fine, okay? But just you be careful. If you're able to afford those really flashy cars, you better be selling in that realm, or it's going to hurt you rather than help you. Okay, let's talk about the show up time, step 3. So I'm going to encourage you to drive to the neighborhood, arrive early, get there early, because you never know what's going to happen in traffic. Get there early, drive the neighborhood, and you want to, while you're doing that, have in mind the closest comps that you've put together on your CMA or your cloud CMA or whatever it is, and drive by and look at those homes specifically, because you're using those as a basis of your pricing recommendation. So make sure that, because it could look exactly the same in the photos, in the description, but you get to one and there's a big sewer plant behind it, okay, or it's on a busy road. It could be all kinds of things that never show up in the property description or the photos. So make sure, you don't want to be embarrassed when you pull up your comps and you show them, they say, oh, but that house has got this and that house, no way. So drive around, get a sense where the clubhouse is, where the parks is, where the schools are, so that you really have an understanding of that neighborhood if you're not already an expert on it. Review your materials and your plan. So now you're on the street, you're in front of the house. Not in the driveway, okay? Not in the driveway. Some people, I had a friend like this, absolutely paranoid about people dripping oil in his driveway. Doesn't matter if you had a brand new car. Nobody parked in his driveway. If you did, and they had a lot of parties, he would come out and tell you to move your car. Nobody parked in his driveway, okay? So park in the street, because they may have family members coming and going anyway, in the street. But while you're there, take a quick look at your materials, at your plan. Make sure you have everything in order. I like to put everything inside the personal brochure, the CMA, the marketing samples, all of that. It's not a very big package, but I just do a quick review, make sure I've got it all, and then ring the doorbell at the exact appointed time. If it's 6 o'clock, ring it at 6 o'clock. And some very well-meaning agents think, well, I'm going to show them how aggressive I am. I'm going to ring the bell at 1/4 till. Well, guess what happens at 1/4 till? They're still in their pajamas, right? The dishes are still on the table. The house is a wreck. They were waiting for that last 15 minutes to get ready for you, and you just embarrassed them, okay? So just at the appointed time and not a moment before. Okay, step 4. When you step in the home, you want the very first thing, after, greeting, getting to know each other, introducing yourself all around, ask for a tour of the home. Hey, before we sit down for our conversation, would you mind just showing me your home? I'd love to see it. And on that home tour, there's several things you're trying to accomplish. You're assessing the condition and amenities because you did your comps based upon what you believe to be the condition and amenities, but you might get inside and find out it's a whole different story. They got a whole pack of Dobermans in there, okay? And the carpet's a wreck and the trim is all chewed up and you had no way of knowing, okay? You're also attempting to determine where this home fits in the range of pricing for the neighborhood. So when you do your CMA, you're going to identify the comparable homes selling at this level, at this level, and at this level, a low, a mid, and a high. And until you get inside the home, you don't know where it fits. Okay? Do they have quartz countertops or do they have Formica? You don't know until you get there. Okay? That's going to help you put it within the appropriate range for your pricing discussion. And then also keep your eyes open as you're going around the home, looking for what is most needed to get the home in show and sell condition. Okay? Are the windows green with algae? Some of them are. Okay? Are the gutters all clogged with leaves? Some of them are. Are the walls beat up because they got kids, with crayons coloring on everything? You're trying to get a sense of what needs to happen to get this home ready for photography and then ready to show beautifully. And some of you will make a commitment to your sellers to participate in the cost of getting that home ready. And if you've been in my classes, I recommend it. That you have a maid service and you have a handyman and you have a painter and you have a landscaper. And I offer whatever I see is needed most, because we're going to put together a list of things to get the home ready. And if I say, you know what, let me send over my handyman for 4 hours this Saturday, and he'll knock out these 3 or 4 items at my expense, okay? Boy, if you have not won their hearts yet, that will do it, right? When you offer to spend your money on their house, very, very powerful. And of course, you're building rapport as you walk around. You see little Tommy's in Little League. Hey, which team is he on? Well, my grandson's on that team, okay? Oh, y'all were at the Grand Canyon? That's incredible. Is that hole really deep? Okay, so you just talk to them, okay? Get them going, okay? Because that's what you're trying to do. It's like the letter from the heart. You're trying to find areas of commonality. Things where they are like you, because birds of a feather flock together. They want to work with somebody like them. So as you're looking around, look at their pictures, look at their knickknacks, look at their souvenirs, and find those commonalities. Step 5. After you've had the tour of the home, you want to ask to be seated at the kitchen table. It's a better setting for a business conversation as opposed to the living room, right? People get relaxed. Grandpa falls asleep, okay? At the table. It allows you to share your materials and view a laptop together if necessary, or sign documents, okay? It's a business setting. I do have a little advice here, a couple points of advice. When sitting at the kitchen table, you want to be very careful to ask them where you should sit. Just like in church, some people have their own places, okay? That's where Papa Bear sits, that's where Mama Bear sits, and you don't want to put them out of their comfort zone in their own kitchen table, okay? But beyond that, this is critically important. If possible, you want to position yourself where you can have eye contact with all the decision makers, which is typically going to be a husband and wife. In other words, you don't want her here and him here, and you're doing ping pong the whole time trying to go back and forth. Because you know what's going to happen when you're looking over here? She's going to be signaling, Same way over here, they're going to be talking behind you. You want to be able to make eye contact with both decision makers at all time. Eye contact is what connects people emotionally. And you don't want to have to break that with him when you're just making progress. And now I'll go over and salvage her. You just get her back and you look and you lost him again. Okay? So if you can position yourself where you've got them both like around a corner or side by side, where you can maintain eye contact the entire time. All right, step 6. Lead a question-based conversation that addresses seller needs, marketing, pricing, and next steps. And this is where everybody should have a handout where the top page says kitchen table listing conversation. If you don't, raise your hand and young Chastity here will get you taken care of. We see you in the back. Chastity's coming. Okay, so actually, may I have one, Chastity? So let's walk through this. You're at the table, step by step by step. Hey, thank you for inviting me into your home tonight. And by the way, it's a lovely home. Okay, so just a little bit of warm up the conversation. Second question, did you have an opportunity to review the information I sent you? What are we talking about? The pre-listing package, which had a ton of stuff in it, including the CMA and your personal brochure, all kinds of the disclosures, copies of the contracts they're going to sign, all that was in there. Did you have any questions about any of it? Now, you're going to get into it later, but if there's something really at the top of their mind, you want it to get it out, because you don't want to be blindsided and get through the whole thing, and their one issue is, will you work for 1%? Okay? So you don't necessarily want to address those issues right now, but if they say something like, well, yeah, with those disclosure documents, you know, we don't know what urea formaldehyde is, okay? Say, that's great. We're going to take some time and go through those disclosures together, so be assured that we will talk about that. You want to put that conversation off to the appropriate time, but you want to be aware of what the issue is so you do not neglect it. Make sense? Did it give you a better sense of who I am and my experience in helping people like you sell their home? It's an open-ended question. They're probably going to be something like, yeah, and I didn't know you were from Oklahoma. I'm from Oklahoma, okay? What you're trying to draw out with that question is some areas of commonality that you hadn't yet, or you're not aware that existed, okay? Oh, I go to that church, okay? Or that was my school principal. You're looking for those areas of commonality. Number 3, can you tell me again what's prompting your move? And I say again because in our pre-listing conversation, we vetted them with a number of issues, including motivation. But again, just get it back on the table again. You're building momentum in the conversation, and these are easy questions, okay? So you're getting them involved. You're getting them talking. Number 4, when do you need to be in your new home? What type of issue is this? Timing issue. And notice how we worded that. We didn't say, when do you need to sell your home? Because who knows what that means? Is that under contract? Is that closing date? Is that when we move into our new home? So just when do you need to be in? That is a very specific question. Will get you the right information. Number 5, have you been through the home selling process before? Very important. Because if they have, there are some landmines there. You can be assured of it. Almost every transaction has some drama associated with it, okay? And that's your job as a drama manager, okay? So don't be surprised when things get wobbly. People get crazy. There are crazy people out there, okay? And a lot of them own houses, okay? And we can't avoid them. We don't want to avoid them. You know what? We can make a very good living working with crazy people, okay? But you need to know where the drama is. Where are the drama landmines? And this will help you. So have you been through the home selling process before? If they say no, then say, well, are there any questions about the process that we need to be sure to address tonight? So again, you're trying to pull out anything that they're very worried or concerned about so you can be careful to address it. Now, what if they have sold a home before? If they say yes, then you ask, because we're going to start with the positive, what was the best part of that experience? Well, we got our money, okay? We sold the house. We got our price, okay? We love the agent. We love the buyers who purchased the home, whatever it was. Be positive, because you don't want them to think you're nitpicking on other people. That's unprofessional, okay? Now, was there anything frustrating or disappointing about that experience? Okay, this, again, first of all, you're going to uncover the landmines, but you're demonstrating to them that you care about them and their feelings and their experiences, and you don't want them to have that kind of frustration and disappointment again. So once you get that all on the table, now, let's just say that they do express a frustration or disappointment. Don't feel like you need to address it right there, okay? Because that's a little too eager. They might say, for example, well, you know, we did sell the house and we got our price, but we never knew what was going on. You know, we had to call the agent. You know, it seemed like every time after a showing, we never heard about what the feedback was. Okay, we had to initiate contact with the agent, and that was frustrating to us. I don't want you to share your seller communication plan at that point. That's a little too salesy. What I want you to do is identify with their pain. Oh my goodness, Alana, I can understand why that was frustrating to you, right? Because the professional in the transaction was forcing you to do the work. I understand. I'm going to address that and share with you how I proactively communicate with my sellers a little bit later in the conversation. Would that be okay? Okay. So again, you're accumulating this list of issues that you need to address. Number 8, now let's talk about selling this home. Okay, we've moved from past experiences to right now. Is there anything in particular we could do to make this a great experience for you? And there's no telling what's going to come out of their mouth. You know, and it might be that they have young children, maybe a new baby who sleeps from 2 to 4 every afternoon, and that's the biggest concern. Can we block showings in the afternoon so that my baby's nap is not interrupted? Okay, you would never know that. That was so strange. Wow. Okay. Number 10. I was preaching a sermon one time in a little church in East Texas. And I said something about God, and I mean, I'm not kidding. There was this lightning and thunder that shook the whole building. I'm like, see? You can't plan that stuff. Okay, number 10, we did that. Number 11, let's talk about marketing your home. Or did I skip over that? I did skip over number 10. Do you have any specific concerns about the home selling process that I should be aware of? And that could be marketing, it could be open houses, it could be communication or whatever. 11, let's talk about marketing your home. I have a robust marketing plan that I'll share with you in just a moment. But first, do you have any specific ideas about how you want or don't want me to market your home? Okay? And I've heard everything from I don't want it on the MLS to I don't want photos on the MLS. Okay? Their privacy. I'm like, okay, no problem. We can work around that. We'll have to get some exterior shots, maybe a neighborhood shot, okay? But we won't take photos of your stuff because they're afraid people are going to come rob them, okay? So just ask them. Great. Number 12. Let me share with you what I will do to ensure that every prospective buyer looking for a home like yours will see your home and see it presented beautifully. That is the marketing task. That's your job when it comes to marketing. To blast it out there so that everybody looking for a home like that finds it, they see it, but they see it presented beautifully. So I don't often encourage agents to memorize, but that's a good sentence to memorize. Internalize that dialogue. Let me share with you my plan, my 14-point whiz-bang marketing plan to assure that every buyer looking for a home like yours sees it and sees it presented beautifully. Okay, and that beautifully addresses issues at many different levels. And then you're going to go through your marketing plan. Okay, this is not the time for that. We've already covered that in other classes. If you need help with your marketing plan, by the way, I put samples of marketing plans on Back Agent. My marketing plan when I was at Remax, my marketing plan that I did for my sellers after we started Abbey Realty, both of those are in Back Agent under the Office tab, under listing resources. Okay, there's tons of stuff in there, including that. Number 13, so we've talked about marketing. Now we're going to talk about pricing. By the way, what are the two things that cause homes to sell? We got price. We got price. Okay, location and condition, I would say, are a derivative of price or a contributor to price. Condition is a contributor. Who said that? Was that Robert Scott? Okay. No hair, Robert Scott. Two things. So get this. This is very important. Let this sink in. There's only two things that cause homes to sell: price and marketing. Price. Sometimes marketing is called exposure. Exposing it to the marketplace. Price and marketing. Okay. A home in any condition, in any location, regardless of what other challenges it faced, if it is priced right, it will sell today. Okay. But how do people know? We have to market it, right? We have to let people know. And so price and marketing are the only two things that actually cause homes to sell. So we already talked about marketing. We just went through our marketing plan with them to assure them that everybody looking for a home like this is going to see it. And now we have to address the second cause, which is pricing. Because even if everybody sees it, if it's overpriced, they're probably not going to schedule a showing. And if they do, they're probably not going to make an offer. Okay? You're going to ask them a question. Have you done any research on your own to try to determine your home's current market value? We didn't have to ask that question 10 years ago. But now they all have his estimate. Okay? They've all logged on to these websites. What is your home worth? And so I don't want you to get them to commit to a number up front, but you need to know if they already have a price in mind. Okay? And by the way, it's not always bad news. Sometimes when you hear their price, you'll internally go, oh, God, I can do that. Okay? Not typically, but it sometimes happens. Okay? Number 14. Let me share with you the data I've gathered on every home similar to yours in your neighborhood that's been on the market in the last 6 months. Okay, this is your cloud CMA, it's your quick CMA, it's your RPR CMA. You've already sent this to them, but remember, in the pre-listing package, we just gave them the report. We did not make an actual pricing recommendation. So you're going to share the data, and you're going to explain it to them. We chose a 6-month period because that's what appraisers use, okay? We might have to go longer if it's a unique circumstance. We might have to go wider outside the neighborhood if it's a brand new neighborhood and there aren't comps. But here's a core belief that will serve you well 90% of the time. Pricing is neighborhood specific. So don't do a radius search in the MLS. Don't go out half a mile to find all the comparable homes. Because you can have back-to-back homes, identical homes, but in different neighborhoods, one can be priced $100,000 more, right? Because it's behind the gate. And those kids go to that school, okay? Pricing is neighborhood specific, okay? Now, number 15, we're going to give the sellers an opportunity to self-discover what the actual market value of their home is. Because if it's less than what they think or they hope, you do not want to be the bearer of bad news. Okay? I've lost listings. There was one in particular that still grates me because the other agent who came in promised she could get them $20,000 more. Okay? I hate that. And actually, you know, it's a violation of the code of ethics to get a listing by deceiving the seller as to the market value of the home. It's in the code of ethics. But you don't want to be the bearer of that bad news. You want your seller to discover it. So now you're looking at these documents you previously sent them. You're explaining it to them. Okay, these are the actives. These are the pendings. These are the solds. This is the average price per square foot. And then I handwrite on the copy I walk in with what the pricing of their home would be at the high per square foot price, at the median, and at the low. And that will be anything from $375 to $350 to $330. Okay, I just handwrite that in my notes so that, for one, so that I remember it. Okay, because it can, you know, if you're going on listing appointments at 4, 5, 6, and 7, which Jesse, you'll be doing that a year from now. Okay, you can lose track. Okay, so make your notes on there. Based on this information, what do you think is the current market value of your home? And you need to be prepared to show them the comps. I have printouts, you know, of the 3 or 4 homes in the neighborhood that I think are most comparable, most helpful in helping us establish this price. Okay. Now, if you agree with what comes out of their mouth, hallelujah. Okay. And you simply say, yes, that's the same conclusion I came to. That's awesome. I think we can do that. Now, what if you don't agree? And don't agree means they came in high. Okay, very rarely do sellers come in low. If they do, you are a rock star. You know, 320 is your number, Corey. You know what? With my marketing plan, I think we can get you 335. Would you let me try? Okay, yeah, Corey loves me. Okay, but I know I can get 335 because I've done the research and I know the numbers. But typically, they're going to come in high. Okay, so if you don't agree, can you tell me how you came to that conclusion? Because you're sitting there at the table looking at the same numbers. If they want to price high, even after this discussion, and do some sellers insist on pricing high? Okay, there's different schools of thought on this. Some agents say there's never a good reason to take an overpriced listing. I don't go quite that far. Typically, I will want the listing under any terms. If I have had this conversation with the sellers, here goes. That's fine. The market value as we see is about $350. You want to come in at $375. That's fine. Okay? We can never predict precisely what someone may be willing to pay for your home. In other words, we're looking at historical data, but who knows? Somebody may come in from California. They don't know what homes are worth. Okay? They're willing to overpay. Or maybe because of that unique outdoor kitchen or that pool or the remodeled master bath, who knows? Somebody might be willing to pay because we don't know. We don't have perfect knowledge of the future, okay? If we're priced too aggressively, and that's how I would phrase it as opposed to too high. If we are priced too aggressively, okay, we try to get too big a bite out of the apple, we'll know pretty soon because we won't get showing activity that we're hoping for, or we'll get showings but no offers, okay? So the market is going to give us this feedback. We'll monitor both very closely and then respond to market feedback accordingly. You always want to offload responsibility for value and pricing to the market. It's not you telling them what their home is worth. You're allowing them to self-discover the price. And if they've done a bad job of that and they're not open to your professional guidance, then you're going to let the market correct them, not you. Okay? And I would monitor that very closely. If you know you're overpriced, I would establish it right up front. Okay, we're aggressive with our pricing. We may get lucky. You never know. But let's revisit a week from now because we're going on the market fresh. Let's presume it's the second week of January. Market activity is picking up right now. We ought to have a number of showings our first week. If we don't, or if we get the showings and not offers, then we'll be wanting to have a conversation a week from now and revisit this issue. Okay? Some agents go so far as to negotiate price reductions in advance. I've never been able to get that, but if you can, that'd be awesome. Let's just, if we don't get an offer in the first week, let's come down $5,000. Yes, Bob?
Do you use the same format if it's one that's really been hard to comp? It's a little more rural. Or...
Yes, that's great. Yeah, rural properties in particular, it's nearly impossible sometimes to find comps. So let's take a shot at it. We really know what somebody's going to be willing to pay. Okay, so yeah, is that what you mean?
Yeah. You use the same format.
Yes.
Let's go with it and monitor it. See what happens.
That's exactly right. So at this point, we're at number 19. We're ready to go ahead and sign listing documents because we've agreed on the marketing plan. We've addressed any issues that they raised, frustrations, or particular needs in marketing. You addressed that in the marketing plan. You decided on price. So now, very assumptively, you're going to move to signing the documents. You've already sent them copies of everything that they're going to be signing. I would go ahead and bring a copy of your own. I mean, you could just sign those because you filled in everything but listing date and price. Okay. Say, okay, great. Let's take care of the paperwork. Let's get this on the market. Okay. Not, well, what do you think? Okay. At that point, once they love your marketing plan, you've agreed on price, it's time to sign papers. Okay. So you don't even ask for the sale. You say, great, let's take care of the paperwork. I've already got most of it done, but I'll need you to sign here. Let me write in your price. Just write in our start date. They're going to need some help with the disclosures every single time. Okay. So they may have filled out most of them before you got there, but go ahead and ask them how much progress they've made. And if they, regardless of whether they've done some or a lot or none, I would encourage you, sit there at the table while they go through them. And that can be a very tedious process, but otherwise you may never get them back. And then you got showing agents hammering you and you're like, no, I don't know. I've been asking for them. I can't get them. Okay. You want to walk out with those disclosures, and there will be questions they don't know. And when you get to that question about inspections, how many years back do we have to go in on inspections? 4 years. See, she's my genius agent over here, just knows all this stuff. And if there was an inspection within the last 4 years, what do they have to provide?
The date and the name of the
A copy of the inspection. Yes, that's exactly right, Ann. So that is on the inspection report. They ask about that. So have there been any inspection reports? Attached copies.
Is it you provide the inspection report if they ask for it, or do you automatically give them the inspection?
What the seller's disclosure says is that if there have been any inspection reports in the last 4 years, you attach them to the seller's disclosure. Okay? So that when you go to upload to the MLS, it's all one document. Okay? And it might be 89 pages long. Okay? But that's what it says. Yes, sir. Yes, they are. Absolutely. Investors are not exempt from disclosure requirements. Okay. Okay. All right. I wasn't going to talk about it, Bob, but you brought it up. Okay. Let me address this and I'll answer your question. There is a school of thought among listing agents that you should forbid the buyer's agent from sending you a copy of the inspection reports. Sometimes they'll say, just send me the pages that are addressed on your repair amendment request. Okay. That is an old school responsibility dodge that does not work anymore. I've been in 2 sessions in the last 6 months with TREC attorneys, and I've asked this question directly. Most recently, last week, the chief of enforcement for TREC in the room, and I asked him this question, okay? If you know as a listing agent or a buyer's agent that an inspection report exists, you will be held liable if you are a party in any way to not fully disclosing that to buyers. So when a seller's agent tells me, I don't want to copy that inspection report, thinking that then they don't have to provide it, you know what I do? I send it anyway. I send it anyway because I'm not going to be a party to their deception. Okay? Yes, Michael?
And having faced this twice in the last couple of months, once you tell the listing agent, I will not be a part of this.
That's right.
Disclosure requirement.
Yes.
I'm not going to be a party to it.
Yeah. So what If you were, TREC exists to protect whom? Right, not us, protect consumers. And what is the one word that best describes what they're looking for from agents and sellers? Disclosure. The opposite, yeah. Not deception, but disclosure. So don't be a party to that. Teresa? That's correct. That's correct. And I know even inspection companies are writing that on the report. I don't care what they write on that report. That does not trump a TREC requirement for us. We go all the way back to the corner, then we'll come back, Cindy. Yes. Absolutely. Of course, yeah, and you should. Because if that inspection report shows stuff that has been addressed, you certainly want to do that. I would do it in a separate document, but we don't control sellers. Yes, Cindy? Well, I've never had that happen, but I would request a copy and at least document the fact that you requested it, okay? Because you know it exists. That's the point, okay? Now, if that buyer buys the home, really no problem. But if it goes back on the market, it could be an issue. Oh, yes, thank you. So actually, this is an issue I want to address, and it may be later in my notes, but let me just say it. All these related documents to the transaction, including the inspection reports, need to be in back agent. Because if there is a TREC investigation, they don't care as much about you as they care about me. And I need access to a copy of that document. And by the way, that includes your CMA. Whether you're working with buyers or with sellers, it is now a TREC requirement that you save those documents for 4 years. Where should you save them? In back agent, because I need access to them too. So when you're doing pricing recommendations for sellers or offer recommendations for buyers and you run CMAs, put them in back agent. And there's where I would write notes on them, okay? But you know what your recommendation was to your buyers and sellers, because if something goes wobbly and TREC comes back, you need to be able to demonstrate that you exercised due diligence in your recommendations.
A point that I just learned about a year ago is the fact that text messages do not count for TREC. You must have it in email. So if you do correspondence in text, you can transpose that over into an email.
So CJ has raised the issue of text and email communications. So what CJ just said, if you couldn't hear, is that text messages do not suffice. I'm not sure that's still the case. I was in this class with the chief of enforcement last week, and they talked about all electronic communications. So I wasn't going to voluntarily bring this up because I'm not prepared to bring you a solution yet. Yes, Michael?
There is an app, and we can talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk about that because early in the new year, I am going to be doing some compliance training to keep us all out of real estate jail. But when I tell you at that point that you have to keep a record of every email with every client and perhaps every text message, I want to be able to provide you with an easy solution for doing that. So, okay, so that's coming, okay? All right, y'all hang with me. I know we're going a little bit over time today, but it's worth it, okay? So hang in there with me. So let's go to number 7. Review and sign documents, including the seller safety plan, complete the disclosures, and collect the survey. Remember, you asked them to provide you with a copy of the survey. If they had one, they should have it there. You want to be sure and get that. Complete the disclosures. I put a copy of a seller safety plan in the handout, and it's stapled in there. What I would encourage you to do is write your own, okay? In other words, even if you have to scan it, but you know PDFs can be converted to Word files. You know, Adobe can do that for you, so you don't have to retype. But all these documents that I put in there for you, these supplementals, I would retype them and personalize them. Put your logo on there and your contact information on there. And I know, and you got your own Annie B branding, put them on there. So really make these, you know, personal to you. Okay, make sense? Okay. You definitely want to remember to take room measurements. I can't tell you the number of times I've walked out, said, Cheryl, put this on the MLS. And she says, well, Frank, what are the room measurements? I go, ugh, okay. So you've already got your tape measure or your laser. Take time and take measurements. There are some exceptions. Sometimes a home has been on the market multiple times, and you can go back and look at the room measurements from a previous listing. If they're consistent, just use those. If it's a builder, and sometimes we'll get builder listings, they'll provide you with the dimensions, but you do have to have them. Buyers are told on the MLS not to rely, but to make their own measurements. But that will not keep them from suing you, okay? So just do your best. You can even take measurements from the sellers if you believe them to be accurate. You cannot do that if you believe they are fudging the numbers, okay? So just because the seller in any area wants to be deceptive, that does not get you off the hook from being absolutely truthful. Yes, sir.
It's a great point that I suggest you always take a tape measure as well as a laser, because these open floor plans, a lot of times there's nothing to bounce that laser off of. You need to use a tape measure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes, that very good point. Okay, step number 9, install sign and lock boxes. I always take one of each, a Supra and a combo. The Supra goes on the front door. That's for high security, and I explain this to my sellers. It's one thing I do that differentiates me from all those other agents out there, okay? It's the highest level of security, that Supra. Only realtors have access to it. It's electronic. We know who's coming and who's going and when. Highest level of security. That's what I provide for my sellers. But I'm also going to put a mechanical lockbox on the handle of the back gate. I'm not going to lock your back gate. That's what they always say. Oh, we need that backyard. No. I'm just going to hang it on the handle. And that way, if at any point in the transaction, somebody needs access to the home who's not a realtor or doesn't have Supra access, we can get them in. And that might be a plumber making repairs. It might be a landscaper. It might be you when you lose your key. And sometimes those Supra boxes, the battery drains. I haven't had this happen in several years, but 4 years ago, I was out of range and I couldn't get a Supra signal. Or sometimes, this has happened more than once, that front door is deep under an alcove. They have these big, fancy, long stone porches, and you can't get a signal to open the Supra. So I always like to have a backup. That's why I put the mechanical. I've requested 2 keys in my pre-listing package. I'm going to collect them now with the survey and the disclosures, and I'm going to install both lock boxes, okay? And this will save you many, many unnecessary trips if you'll put that mechanical on there. It is an absolute lifesaver, okay? And by the way, I'm transferring out my very last listing tomorrow, okay? And I'm going to be out of the listing business. I have some extra lock boxes, which I'm selling at a discount, okay? I do. I brought some Supras and some combos. What does the Supra cost now? $150, $75, okay? And the combos, I think they sell for about $25, $15. So if you want one, now if it's a Supra, I'm going to have to reprogram it for you, but let me know if you want them, grab them, give me the money, okay? All right, so last step, and probably the funnest step in the whole process. Take the family out front, once you've installed your sign, cleaned it up, painted it, and take their photograph, okay? Do not wait until closing. Sometimes they're not as happy at closing, okay? You want to get them smiling when they love you and life is all rainbows and unicorns, okay? So get their happy picture. You want to take it with the coming soon rider. If it's not going active immediately, get coming soon, take off the coming soon, get it without the rider, and then put on the sold rider and take another picture. Very, very important. Now you have all the photos that you need at every stage of the listing. And you don't have to worry about getting them back and forth because he may have already moved to Seattle or she got fussy with you about something, is not going to cooperate. Get all your photos taken up front. Let them know that you're going to use these to start the marketing of the property immediately. Even if it's not going on the market until next week, you got to get photographs, you got to get landscaping refresh. You're not waiting, okay? It's a differentiator. You're going to get it out there, and you're going to encourage them to like on social media and share on their page, because there's a very good chance that the buyer of their home will be somebody like them, somebody in their sphere, okay?
Question, Frank.
Yes, ma'am.
Those photos are only to be used on social media, correct? The photos that you take with.
Correct. You cannot put any yard sign with identifying information in the MLS, okay?
But you can use them for testimonial pages.
Oh, absolutely.
pictures and things like that.
Yeah, for your personal marketing. And by the way, because they've received my pre-listing package, they know exactly how I use these photos for reviews, testimonials, and my marketing pieces. And I've never had anybody not be tickled to death to be featured. I put them on postcards to the farm, all that kind of stuff, okay? You knew it. There's more. Lots of additional resources touching on the issues that we've gone into today on Back Agent. In fact, I spent several hours this weekend uploading a ton of listing resources, including stuff we haven't even discussed today. You just go into Back Agent, Office tab, Documents, and then Listing Resources, okay? It's that simple. Tons of great, great stuff on there. And then several of you, I think Michelle most recently, recommended Breakthrough Broker to me. They have a ton of great listing resources, and I'll tell you the one that some of y'all are going to be so excited about. They have templated slide presentations. So if you're one who loves to take an iPad and do finger swipes, or, or do a PowerPoint or a keynote or something like that, and you can take just about this whole discussion. Some of you who are not certain that you can remember what comes after number 8 or number 13, you could create little slides using this, I hate to say it, don't nobody slap me yet, listing presentation tool, okay, to help guide you through the discussion, okay, the conversation, okay. So a Breakthrough Broker, look under listing resources. They've already got, all you do is to insert your text, insert your photo, and they've already given you suggestions. This is where you talk about pricing. This is the marketing. This is your bio. This is your broker bio. So it makes it super, super simple if you want that. And then next week, I'll be rolling out details on our listing blitz. The contest to win lots of fun prizes and make a lot of money by listing houses. Because I want us to, we closed as a company 100 transactions in November, okay? That's a great number. But our listing inventory, other than our biggest team leader, is only 40 or 49 homes. I forget which it is. And at 164 agents, we ought to have at least 164 listings. Everybody ought to have one, okay? So we're going to really focus on getting the listings, and then those will generate the buyers as part of the package, okay? So the last thing I have to say to you is congratulations, because now you have the information to win the listing every time.